Welcome back to the Casual Marks. We got brand new mics. It's Christmas. We got the cookies in the oven, and today we're talking about the NXT year-end awards. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it with number one. But in case this is your first time here, I'm the Mark. I'm with my big brother, the Casual. How you doing today?
Whoa, don't dox me like that, saying that I'm your big brother. But more importantly, listen to this. Oh, that's crisp and that's cold. And the mics are picking it up good.
We're not sponsored, but if there are any adult beverage connoisseurs,
yeah, hit me up. I'll test it out. Send me some free samples, and I'll determine if you're quality enough to be on the show.
You want to shout out what you're drinking tonight, or not quality enough to give a shout out for?
Well, yeah, I'll give it a shout out. It's an ice cold Miller Lite. I've been drinking this since I turned 21.
So we got a couple of different nominees on the poll. We'll run through them, talk it through, and then we'll give our picks. I don't know if it'll show us the results and who's winning. I guess we'll find out.
We're doing a poll on the podcast or on the TikTok of seeing.
No. This is a poll on WWE.com. This is the actual voting for it. We are voting live on the podcast right now.
Okay, I think that we should also do one for our followers post our votes.
Okay, I'm in.
And I want to see what they think, because if they disagree with us, they're wrong, and we'll block them.
Period. So the first up on the NXT year-end awards is Match of the Year. We got the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge from NXT Deadline. That, of course, featured Trick Williams going over the likes of Bron Breakker, Tyler Bate, Dijak, and was it? I don't remember if it was Briggs or Jensen.
Whichever one's the bigger one. I think it's Briggs. I know for a fact it's Briggs.
Perfect. Next up, we had Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov at No Mercy. I believe this was their third encounter. I think this was number 3 out of the trilogy.
Is this when Ilja won the title?
I believe so.
Okay.
Next, we got Ilja Dragunov versus Dijak at Battleground.
Hey, Dijak.
That was a very hardcore match. Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton from No Mercy, an Extreme Rules match.
That one was also lit.
Axiom versus Tyler Bate in the Global Heritage Invitational, the opposite of an Extreme Rules match, a very, very much normal rules match. Johnny Gargano versus Grayson Waller in the old Lights Out match, or non-sanctioned match. I see that's not getting your vote. Seth freaking Rollins versus Bron Breakker. Roxanne Perez versus Blair Davenport. JD McDonough versus Dragon Lee. Roxanne Perez versus Kiana James from Halloween Havoc. And last up, Eddie Thorpe versus Damon Kemp in the NXT Underground match. Let me first start out by saying, kind of cool, NXT Underground made the cut. And I know this is like WWE giving themselves the award. It's like that meme where Obama's putting the award on Obama's neck. But like, it's kind of neat. I believe that was the first ever NXT Underground match. So it's
that was the first ever? I thought they did Underground matches during COVID.
No, so there was Raw Underground. And I believe this was the first ever NXT Underground match. And I mean, NXT Underground, we've seen very similar matches before. So I'm not exactly sure if there was another one that was NXT Underground and I'm just mixing up stipulations.
Refresh my memory. It was Gable Steveson. He was Eddie Thorpe's coach, was he not?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in his corner.
That's what I thought.
And this is where we first saw him start to throw some suplexes on those nameless jobbers that were surrounding the ring.
They're not nameless jobbers. They are the future faces of WWE.
This is true. They are. I did like the match, but I do not think it's even in consideration for me.
Yeah, no chance this is even in my probably top 5, and I am very much so recently biased, so you can come for me for that. But just sticking out my brain, like now that we've talked about it, I remember it, but it does not irk good feeling. I mean, it was a fine match, and it was cool, I guess, but it's not like match of the year quality for me.
Roxanne Perez and Kiana James, their Halloween Havoc match. I believe this was the Devil's Playground match, which, that's cool, but it was just an Extreme Rules match. And they did a little bit of interesting stuff, but I think there's better Extreme Rules matches on this list. So it's hard to say this is match of the year when it's not even the best of its stipulation on the list.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it was a cool match. It was a cool free TV match, but it's just not match of the year quality for me.
JD McDonough and Dragon Lee, I like both of these people. I really do. And I'm sure that this match was really, really good, but I don't remember it. They don't give any clarification. They don't say what week it was or if it was on a PLE. So I don't know what they're talking about.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that doesn't remember this because it's flying over my head. And the only time I remember JD McDonough is on the main roster, that little bobblehead. And he will never get match of the year vote for me.
All right. Like I said, I'm sure it was good, but
I'm sure it was good because of Dragon Lee, not because of JD McDonough.
Similar, Roxanne Perez and Blair Davenport. No doubt it was a good match, but they don't give us anything else about it.
So you don't know when this was or anything?
I'm sure it was Blair on Davenport NXT. I think it was right when she came back.
Okay.
But again, it doesn't super stand out. Yeah. Blair's best match since returning was the Women's Iron Survivor performance, and that didn't make the list of nominees.
Yeah, so, I'll be honest. Blair Davenport just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. Just not. Well, again, I am biased, so that's what I am.
Next up, Seth freaking Rollins versus Bron Breakker.
Now, this is a match right here.
See, so again, on this one, they don't actually give like the week or anything.
But I remember
we know that Seth isn't on NXT a lot.
Yeah, so and I remember he was running the gauntlet, just defending his title against everyone, and Bron Breakker was talking to Shawn Michaels in the backstage, and I thought Bron Breakker was getting called up, but it was actually him doing a little video thing and calling out Seth Rollins. It was a good match.
I mean, it was good, but it was also just a normal Seth Rollins match.
Well,
this is kind of a downside of Seth Rollins. Bangers. That's what I was about to say. Kind of a downside of Seth Rollins lately is that all of his matches are good. So it's not like this one really stood out.
Yeah, it's like that's the standard, and it's like even though they're great matches compared to other people, it doesn't stand out for Seth Rollins in particular.
And I mean, it was great for Braun to get that exposure because if I remember right, this was. I don't think it broke 1 million viewers for NXT, but it was close. I think the only thing that broke 1 million this year was Becky and Tiff on NXT when Becky won the Grand Slam Championship.
What about the John Cena whenever he was on? And
I don't believe it did because remember Tony Khan made that tweet about how Undertaker and John Cena had never been viewed by less than 1 million people.
Yeah, that's true.
Johnny Gargano.
What did Undertaker do on that? I forgot all about that.
He chokeslammed Bron Breakker.
Yeah, okay.
And he hasn't been back since.
Gotta break out the old guys, baby.
Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller. This is their non-sanctioned match.
This match, I mean, it didn't do it for me. I know this is going to be a shocker for people that know me, but I like Johnny Gargano in the fact that
what?
In the fact that he can put on a good performance. I love to boo him, even whenever he's a face. But this match, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was the next level for me.
I think I kind of agree. I was really into the build-up, and there were some cool spots in the match.
Like going to his house, like I'm like, oh yeah, we're about to have a house brawl and everything like that. But Candice LeRae and Baby Wrestling just watching from the front porch. It just wasn't. I mean, it was cool. It just is not match of the year for me.
I vividly remember thinking that Shawn Michaels was going to face Grayson Waller.
Yeah, and we got freaking...
I was very convinced that that's where they were going. I'm not sure that would have been better.
It would have been better just to hear his music. Memorable. Just to hear his music. I'm just a sexy boy.
Axiom versus Tyler Bate, the Global Heritage Invitational. Again, no doubt it was a great match, but all of Axiom's matches are pretty much the same level of good. And Tyler Bate probably. I know you're not a Tyler Bate fan.
I'll be honest, I don't remember this match. I need you to refresh my memory, please.
I mean, it was their one in the Global Heritage Invitational. I don't know what else to tell you. The one.
What is the global? The one for the cup?
Yes, the tournament to see who would face Noam Dar.
Okay, I do remember this now. And yes, I do not like Tyler Bate, specifically for his little ropes running that he does with his arms through the ropes and his fighting spirit. But Axiom, I love him. His mathematics, his slow motion, or his super speed.
He's just so fast.
But again, not match of the year for me.
I mean, like I said, definitely good, but all of their matches are good, so it's hard for this one to stand out.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I know it wasn't on NXT, but I think Axiom's had better matches with his SmackDown debut. Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton at No Mercy. I like this match a lot.
Yeah, this match was badass. The only thing that it's so bad it might have been good for me was Tiffany Stratton.
Barbie.
No, I like that too.
Oh, I thought you were going to say when they broke out the Barbie pieces.
No, I enjoyed that. I was going to say Tiffany Stratton holding up the brass knucks upside down.
That was a classic. And the ref having to be like, hey, those are all. So that was awesome.
So that might have been so bad it was good. So, I mean, this is a great match. I loved it. They were like freaking AJ Styles out there. I'm really hitting, but I enjoyed this match.
I just think the wrong person won. Don't get me wrong. I understand Becky did a lot.
Should have won?
Yeah. I understand Becky did a lot for the ratings, and I know that they wanted her to be a Grand Slam champion. I just don't exactly love when main roster stars go down to NXT
except
and
for
get
Dom
the NXT
Mysterio.
That's the thing. Like Dom doing it was like, oh, Dom's gonna get all this like in-ring work, and he's gonna get more exposure, so he's better in the ring and gets better on the mic and everything. But now Dragon Lee's doing it. Becky's done it. I mean,
I'll be honest. I think that Dom like needed to do NXT, and that could honestly be a whole episode on itself. With Becky, I think they were like, we don't have anything for you right now, or we are saving bigger things for WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, and we want to save that for that. So keep her away from the bigger names until then, like the Jade Cargill, the Nia Jax. I think they were just trying to...
The Rhea Ripley, probably the biggest name.
No, like I just said, the Jade Cargill and Nia Jax.
Yeah, no, go on.
Because we're not going to get a Rhea versus Charlotte. I forgot about that. Poor Charlotte.
Ilja Dragunov versus Dijak at NXT Battleground. This one is a sleeper. I remember being shocked watching this match. It was brutal. It was devastating. If I remember right, it was a last man standing match.
Yeah, I would. My memory would agree with that.
And this was around the time that I started saying that Ilja Dragunov might be the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah, and that is honestly whenever I might have started agreeing, because my first little dose of Ilja was you forcing me to watch the Ilja versus Walter match. And I'm like, why are you making me watch this UK shit? But, woo, my adult beverage. But but that match, just seeing Ilja, he's a little fella, and I normally don't like little fellas. But seeing him against Walter, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a real deal. And then seeing him against Dijak, he got tortured, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because he was trying to break him mentally, I remember.
Yeah, and anything that Dijak in is always good. And honestly, anything Ilja's in is always good. So this is probably a sleeper that I had not remembered very well. But now that it's been in front of me, that I like the names are in front of me, I remember it. And like I said, I am very much so recent bias, but that one is a good one that I can remember and recall, unlike the other ones.
Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov from No Mercy. Okay, here's my issue with this, okay? I don't remember which specific one of the trilogy this was. Nor
Have we not already talked about one of the Ilja versus Carmelo?
Just when we were first going through them at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember if this was the one I liked the most. They did a lot of like almost King's Road-esque booking where it was like playing off of their previous encounters, which I enjoyed, but I don't know if this was the one where they did that.
I'll be honest, I remembered Ilya winning, but I don't remember anything standing out specifically in the match. Like I'm sure it was a good match because they both put on great matches, but I just don't remember anything specifically from that match to be like, wow, that was awesome.
I can remember a few spots, but I can't remember which specific PLEs those spots happened, and they clarified that this was the one at No Mercy. So it's hard for me to say, oh, this is the No Mercy match that I like so much.
Right.
And then the last one, this one's a doozy. The Men's Iron Survivor Challenge from NXT Deadline. You know, you and I have discussed it before. WWE famously will do a new stipulation and almost immediately have the best version of that match. This is the second ever Men's Iron Survivor match.
And it was awesome.
It was tight. I really enjoyed it. I love the story throughout. You and me watched it together. You know, I was marking out. I was freaking out. I really didn't think Trick was going to do it. I thought Trick was going to do it.
I remember. Yeah, we were talking about it. You're like, yeah, I will say that I called this from the beginning. That I said, maybe not from the beginning, but whenever it was, whatever time when Trick had zero, I'm like, Trick's going to come back and win it all. But then Bron Breakker came out and got 3 pins in a row. I'm like, all right, I'm wrong. But it was insane. I legit had cold bumps whenever he won. Like, this was my first ever experience with the Iron Survivor. It was a great match. The pacing was amazing.
Because you missed the women's, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I missed the women's. I did not watch the previous years. It was a awesome experience to just watch this match and like just honestly like feel something new and just vibrant. I don't know. It was awesome.
It is very hard to make a great new stipulation in wrestling.
Besides the Punjabi prison match.
But I think NXT has done it with the Iron
Don't try
Survivor.
to ignore what I said about the
We're just going to bury that comment. I ain't even going to acknowledge it. I really think the Iron Survivor Challenge has the potential to be... I'm not saying it'll be like the Royal Rumble where it'll be like, you know, people's favorite of all time. But I think it has the potential to be something on the pace of like a Survivor Series match. This is a consistent
PLE
match of the year.
I agree that this I think this needs to go up to the main roster and be a PLE event. And I think that's what they're doing a good job with NXT is like trying new things. And I would like to see the Heritage Cup eventually go up to that, but that again can be talked about later. But like this is a fun, exciting, and it's so quick that 25 minutes goes by so quickly. You don't even realize it's done. Like it's so much faster and exciting than anything that I've watched in a long time.
So we've run through them all. It seems like we really have two that we're torn between.
Which one is your two?
My two are the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge and Ilya versus Dijak.
Yeah, that's mine as well. I will say, I think my honorable mention is going to be the Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton. That was
I can give that an honorable mention. I think that's a very good match. I just am not crazy about Becky being in NXT, which I think is a bias that keeps me from putting it higher.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it would have done better if it would have elevated Tiffany, but I guess you can't look at it that way. I don't know. I feel like
I don't think she got over in defeat as much as you were hoping.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think that once she lost to Becky, it was like, all right, you're back down the card. But still, I thought it was a great match. I thought Tiffany Stratton did a wonderful job besides the brass knucks, but maybe she even did a better job holding them upside down.
For sure.
But yeah, I agree. It's just not the match of the year for me.
So between the two, which one are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning towards the Bron Breakker versus Carmelo Hayes cage match that we saw live in Charlotte, North Carolina. But since that's not an option...
That wasn't even the match.
Who was it?
It was Bron Breakker and Grayson Waller.
In Charlotte?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. That was what was that? What was that? Was that No Mercy earlier this year? Yeah, but it was Carmelo versus Apollo in 2 out of 3 falls, and Carmelo went 2 straight.
Well, I shouldn't have been drinking my adult beverages during that time. All right, then. Strike that from the card. That cage match was awesome. But anyways, I'm gonna go with the Iron Survivor match just because I was amazed. I was honestly just glued to the TV. I couldn't stop watching, and not taking anything away from the Ilja and the Dijak match. That was an awesome match, and it was fun, and it was personal. It was really cool, but my vote has to go for the Iron Survivor just because of the newness of it and the way that it ended. It was just incredible.
I think I'm right there with you in the mindset of this is something that is new and kind of almost experimental, and I kind of want to reward that. If the idea of being like NXT is like a trial, kind of a proving ground, and if there was ever a match that said, okay, this stipulation works, it was that one.
Yeah.
Ilja and Dijak both, of course, did wonderful in their match at Battleground, but maybe that's why now Ilja's the NXT champion and Dijak was in the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge because that match was so good. It elevated them to be in the champion and a match to find the number 1 contender, respectively. But I just think that they've elevated since that Battleground match.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to go the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge. Let's submit the vote. It does not show us the result.
Oh.
We're going to move to the next poll.
When does this come out?
I think it'll come out during New Year's Eve. I'm not positive. It might be this coming Tuesday.
Make sure y'all go and vote for what we vote so we're right.
Let's go ahead and call the video there. We're going to get another one with the next poll. So y'all
I'm going to grab another adult beverage.
We will be back ASAP.